Welcome to day 24 or 25. Welcome to a day of the 90-day YouTube challenge. I didn't end up watching all of Watchmen. I fell asleep again, so I'm sure it's a good movie. But yeah, I sort of woke up and it's like, it was kind of like the Superman one. It's like Man of Steel was okay, but it was just like, I don't know. Well, those two movies aren't the same, but as far as like storyline and all that, Watchmen's a lot better. But yeah, I don't know. I just lost interest and fell asleep. I don't know. I kind of feel like yeah, it's like, because what I'm struggling with is actually expressing how I feel, because I don't want it to be a rant. I don't want it to seem very aggressive or but yeah, I think when I look around at society, at humanity, it kind of feels like there's sometimes a lack of humanity to be humane to one another under times of great stress. And sometimes it just feels like this normal rational logic goes out the window in these times, which is normal because like your reptilian part of your brain, which dominates your body, still, when that triggers, or that rational part of your brain goes offline, the amygdala hijack. We can't escape it, unfortunately. It's how we've evolved. And all reason and all logic and all this common sense and common decency, I think sometimes just goes out the window. And just even day-to-day logic and how things work. Like, I don't understand, like, why we need to put each other's down in times of like great stress. It's like it just doesn't seem right, and it seems very opportunistic. Like, I say I don't understand, but unfortunately I do. I think I wish I didn't understand, but I just can't escape this sort of form of knowledge. And especially when it comes to things like the current world situation, where we've got a 2-year-long pandemic sort of thing, logic just seems to go out the window, and the need to return to a form of normalcy. Like, I know I've talked about this before, but I think where like it does bug me is where the need to put others down, and feeling a sense of superiority in that is kind of sad. It's very sad to me. And I don't even think it's superiority. I think it comes from an internal inferiority, a feeling of inferior and needing to put other people's down so we can have some form of superiority, even when the facts just don't add up. It's like that short-term hit of I'm better than you, when it's like, you're not. You've just proven yourself to be a better form of toxicity. Like, I don't like when people spread dis-ease amongst other people, because you're not impressing anyone. You're just more showing yourself to be who you truly are on the inside. If that sounds harsh, then I'm sorry, but too bad. Because it's not nice for other people to experience that form of dis-ease that you're putting out. Now, I'm only speaking to probably, hopefully, a minority of people and not the majority. but I will speak to the minority, because I don't think, well, then again, it's like people do attract a lot of people around them who have a similar belief system, and if the belief system is toxic, then we have a big toxic swimming pool. But it's a big toxic swimming pool that's only a drop in the ocean, really. But in times where, like, say even like where we have to go out and wear masks and all that, and someone might walk around without a mask, and there's those judging eyes, or maybe something said to the thing, it's like you might want to hold up on your logic of bringing someone down. And I'm not speaking for myself, and that it's not happened to me. I do see like the judgmental look, or even if someone out like coughs because, you know, the body still works, or the little, oh my god, he's got it sort of thing, or she's got it, that fear-based mentality. And fear is just a way of trying to keep yourself alive, but it's not a rational, well, you call it an emotion, it's more of a reaction, if anything. But when we, like, say for example, where I'm at in the city sort of thing, it's like I look at everyone wearing masks and that, and like a way to look at it is, what else is in the city? Cars. What do cars produce? Exhaust fumes. What's in exhaust fumes? Heavy metals. Even before all of this stuff that went on, they did studies of how just in traffic sort of thing, you've got a lot of heavy metals that get emitted from car exhaust fumes. Now, if you're wearing a mask, or like a surgical mask, which, I mean, if we look at that term, it's a surgical mask used for surgery, not for day-to-day life, or a mask that you might have bought from the shop sort of thing, that whether it has a filter in it or not, whether it's actually health standard, we're wearing a mask that is actually getting coated by these heavy metals. Even with a filtration system sort of thing, that's heavy metals, because a surgical mask is used in a sterile environment. They try and keep everything sterile in a surgery. But you're not in a sterile environment in the out and about world. So you're basically walking around with something that is getting coated with heavy metals. You're not walking around in oxygen, enriched. Even in this forest sort of thing, it's not this pure oxygen that I'm breathing, whether you want to be breathing pure oxygen. So there is sort of like the fact that there could be a coating of that sort of thing. There could be also where we're breathing out into the mask. Like, I mean, I don't know the research, whether there's any research around it sort of thing, but if we're breathing out like a lot of oxygen, and even just breathing, if we're dumping a lot of oxygen sort of thing, like mouth breathing for example, it can lead to respiratory alkalosis, and oxidative stress, which is a health condition in itself, which can lead to autoimmune conditions. I briefly saw on Facebook, and to fully disclose, it's just a YouTube video that I saw on Facebook. It's no study or anything like that. Of this, it was Australian fireys, and they did a test where they just a basic mask and put it in, and it just showed high levels of CO2 just from wearing that sort of thing. And there's also like, as a surgical mask is normally used in a surgery in a sterile environment, that I don't think maybe carrying your mask in your pocket or keeping it on your rear view mirror or anywhere like that is a sterile environment. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that even though you may be wearing a mask and casting judgment or spreading disease upon someone else that might not be, and they might not be because it's like they just don't have a mask, or it's like they forgot, or it's like for whatever reason, but we're not interested in knowing their reasons. We're just interested in putting them down. But the mask that you're wearing could actually be causing more disease, more unwellness sort of things. So it's just something to consider. I mean, your nose itself has a natural filtration in it, and it's not going to keep away disease, but it does have a natural filtration system in it. I mean, I worked as a wardie in a hospital for 2 years amongst the trash. That was my job, to carry around, well, not carry around, but wheel around wheelie bins full of cytotoxic waste, full of like general waste, biohazard waste sort of thing. I'm still here. Definitely there was times where I got a bit worried when I saw betadine on my arm and thought it was blood sort of thing, so I'd go get tests, but it always showed I was fine. But like there was a time where I looked at the sterilization department sort of thing, and even picked up waste from the surgery section and that. It's like yeah, they're very keen on keeping everything very, very sterile, which the world is not. And it's actually a good thing that the world is not a sterile place, because you develop your immunity system from the world, from touching things, from birth. That's how you develop, from your gut immunity. So it's actually good to touch things sometimes. It's how you develop your immune system. I mean, there's even research now from doctors, from scientists, saying that natural immunity from these things is proving more a vaccine sort of thing, which, like, whether you do or you don't, it's purely your choice, and I'm not going to say anyway. But what I will say is, when people cast judgment on others for making a choice, what you're doing, you become the carrier of dis-ease. You're creating emotional distress in other people, in a time where it's probably unification rather than thinking you're better than someone else. Because the reality is, it's like, we're all you may think you are better than someone, but you're the same lobster in a big pot of lobsters while the heat is getting turned up. You're thinking that you're better than the next lobster. You'll face the same end, but you'll go bitterly towards the end. But where it's a time of unification, how do we deal with this? Yeah, I mean, I worked in a hospital. It's like, I worked for 2 years. Even they never use the word restrictions in hospitals. They never use that term. Like, say when there was an actual, well, not an actual virus, but a virus called norovirus, which was a gut virus sort of thing. It's like diarrhea. It's like, you know, that right at the start memory where there was the everyone was killing each other for toilet paper, basically. If the norovirus was out as the pandemic sort of thing, then that would probably be fully justified, because that's like diarrhea. It's a terrible virus. And it went through the hospital twice actually, and what they'd actually do is they'd close down wards. They wouldn't restrict wards. They would just close them down, because by locking down wards, that's another thing that I'd never do, is lock down, because wards, they would close down certain wards and then send the healthy people that weren't infected off to other hospitals, or just where it was actually known. They'd put up black tarp and all that sort of thing, and like isolate and try and contain that area. They wouldn't restrict or lock down whole communities or whole or a whole hospital sort of thing. I've been to even the hospitals in lockdowns and all that sort of thing as part of my job, and it's like, from the reality that I've seen, unless it's hidden somewhere, it's like, it's just business as usual. There's no contagion style stuff going on. No one running around in biohazards or monkeys going everywhere sort of thing. And I'm just speaking from what I've seen. But yeah, the use of words, the use of language is kind of purposeful in a way. I do know lockdowns happen in prisons. They don't so much happen in hospitals. But where we want to prove that we're better than other people and put other people down, when you're still in the same lobster pot. That more comes from an inside thing, because I don't think, I think it may be a justification for behavior, but I don't think it's justified to put other people down. But I think that might be stuff that's already inside, and it might not be something that's always been there, but once again, fear, these situations where it's crisis mode sort of thing, type of thinking, or led to believe it's crisis mode type of thinking, doesn't bring out the best in people. It'll bring out the best in some people, but it tends to be like that survivalistic mentality of like, we'll get we'll return to normal, even though we've been told that there's a new version of normal, so what are we actually returning to? But a survivalist mentality of like, we just need to get it done, we need to, whatever we need to achieve, and we'll stampede over anyone that's in our way sort of thing. Which, once again, returning to how I was saying, it's like, is that actually humane? Do you want to look at yourself at the end of the day and say, yeah, I felt really good by putting that person down and making them feel stressed and diseased? Disease. If you're not feeling well in yourself, you're not feeling harmony, you're not feeling balance, you're feeling dis-easy. So the only vaccination for spreading dis-ease is actually looking internally and going, why am I doing that? Where's my responsibility in actually helping people rather than putting down people? Because if we're more reacting rather than thinking first and responding, then anything that's reacting is acting out of a fear-based mentality. Your fight, flight, freeze response, or fawn response. And it seems that, and there's even this drive towards like, yeah, there's this division sort of thing. It's like, division of what? What happened before? Like, there's always going to be a division in other things, where it's from this or like your favorite sports team or anything like that. There's always going to be some form of division. But if you divide everything in your life up into I'm this way and that sort of thing, you're going to get an identity crisis just from yourself. If you're in crisis, you're not in a good state. So rather than putting people down, how about bringing people together? I mean, everything that we've been told so far, everything that won't happen is now being told to happen, and justified for unjustifiable reasons. And you can go along with that, or you can look to your fellow person and say, hey, how are you feeling? Rather than like looking at someone and going, well, they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and I just want to get to the end goal, even though the end goal keeps changing. It's like, what we're being told is no longer what we are, and we're in a new form of normal now. So it's like, I want to get back to normal, but we're in a new normal, so I can't actually get back to what I want to do, sort of thing. Rather than looking at that person as the object of an enemy, someone that you probably actually quite liked and quite admired, because you're acting out of a fear-based mentality, it's become your enemy. Why not look at it as this is actually coming from internally within me? They're not the enemy. I'm being the enemy to myself. And it's like, I'm the enemy within. So rather than looking at other people as the source of fear, as the source of blame, as a source of like anger sort of thing, it's like right, it would be like me going to, I don't know, I'm just looking for something, like my hat, and saying, my hat is the reason like I can't actually get better in my life. It's not the hat's fault, it's my fault. When we look at fault, it's like, what is my responsibility? What is my ability to respond to my own internal dis-ease? And will I go out and spread that on to others? So once again, I'm not speaking to everyone. I'm speaking to those people, and those people have probably already switched off. Because no one likes to look in the mirror. No one likes to address their own stuff. Believe me, I've been hurt countless times because I've addressed some of these issues with people. But if you are willing to look internally, believe me, this is not going to be a plug for my business or anything like that. I'm just saying, if you are willing to look internally, then it might start to switch off, or just even take off that tension of such a fight response, fighting with other people, these perceived enemies. Because even in history, there's been countless times where we've been at Japan, for example, or whatever, where it's like we've been at Great War, we've dropped bombs and killed countless many people, which breaks my heart to think about, but killed countless many people, but somehow managed to come together in some form. And I'm sure there's still dis-ease amongst that. Shouldn't have happened, but I think there's been countless times where what we understand our enemy to be, or what we've been led to believe what our enemy is just not our enemy. We, in time, as humans, being humane to each other, we just want to connect. It's kind of like kids playing in the sandpit. They'll just play together, sort of thing. They're not looking at race, gender, whether you're being vaccinated or not, sort of thing. They're just looking at you as someone to play with. And then we get older and our belief systems get warped, and we become toxicity, and we start to spread that toxicity. Even too much oxygen, for example, can your natural pH level of your blood, sort of thing, through stress, if you're overstressed, breathing, chronic breathing, mouth breathing, bringing in too much oxygen, will alter that level of your pH, your blood pH, which will take it from alkalinity into acidity. So not only is the thought belief system toxic, but the body becomes acidic. So how about bring ourselves back into harmony, not disharmony, not dis-ease, and start being kind to one each other and try to understand each other in a very empathetic way. Because I'm not wanting to see someone who's this way or that way, or not vaccinated, this vaccinated. It's like someone that's my enemy, sort of thing. I kind of want to understand, because a lot of the fear mentality is, I've got to do what I've got to do, otherwise I don't have a job. There's consequences. So, and it also speaks to the other side, where it's like, there's the ones like who are anti-vax or whatever, sort of thing, and it's like there's also a same level of toxicity being spread to people in these situations where they don't want to, but they have to. So those people as well need to look inward, because it's like, it's kind of like where you can read a book about spirituality, sort of thing, but it doesn't actually make you spiritual. Spirituality is a spiritual practice, a religious practice, whatever it is. It takes practice to actually be a good person. So even though you may have knowledge on something, and someone is choosing to vaccinate, sort of thing, doesn't actually make it right to dump all your stuff on them, sort of thing. You can spread awareness, you can spread, if the person is interested, but, or if you're being forced to do something, but it doesn't make it actually right also to put a person down, because once again, similar to a person that might not know that they need to wear a mask because it just keeps friggin' changing all the time, creating doubt all the time. They might be in a situation where you might not understand that if they don't do it, then there's basically the blackmail of then you lose your job, or you can't do this sort of thing. There is that consequence, which for any other health condition, it's like, it seems a very targeted response. So having understanding of yourself, understanding of others, that we're all in the same lobster pot as the temperature slowly gets turned up. A community is that. It comes together. It cooperates. So I guess it's where you stand in that. Whether you want to spread disease, whether you want to spread harmony. Up to you. I'm Dia, and I'll catch you in the next day.